Good morning. Oh my gosh, it has been such an exciting morning that I haven't really even had the chance to get on here or anything like that. So we're just coming real quick over here. I have some really big, huge, exciting news that was a win at like 6:30 a.m. this morning for me. But you'll have to hold on to that and you'll learn about it next week. But stay tuned because I have some fantastic news I'm super excited about. A couple of things I want to make sure I tell you guys about right here at the beginning is, one, that I have begun a group for produce sales and artisan crafted food sales, stuff that I'm producing. That'll be vegetables that are harvestable, flowers that are fresh cut flowers, things like that. Different types of artisanal foods that I craft, like, I don't know if I told you guys about the salt that I made last week, but it's just a basic pizza salt using fresh herbs and kosher salt, things like that. Of course, fresh eggs and anything that I come up with, extra plants that I may not be needing. I'm calling it Aislynn's Overflow of Abundance. If you're interested in being included in that group, then please give me a yes in the comments, and that way I can add you over to that group. In addition to that, I also have another group it's just Aislynn group. It is my the group of people that I'm working with as clients for educational workshops, things like that. It gives us an opportunity for me to drop things in there that I think that are really important that go just to that group, and then generally from time to time to answer questions, and for those of us that are in that group to help each other out and answer the questions amongst one another. So if you're interested in either one of those groups, just give me a yes down in the comments. And there is so much more coming on the horizon. I'm really, really, really excited about the end of 2020. I'm sure we all are. I'm celebrating so much success from an interesting year and looking forward to rounding out into 2021. Now, all of that being set aside, it's onion planting time. So here we are. I ordered my onions. I did get them in the early shipment because of where we are in Texas, and I was super excited. I did order my onions from Dixondale Farms. That's a Texas onion grower, and you can still order those. There's still plenty of time. I do believe also the nurseries have probably gotten theirs in as well. So if you want to stop by the nurseries and pick up some of these little bundles like this. So I've already planted about 6 of these, 1 each variety out at the farm, and then another 4 here at the house in the different varieties. And the varieties that I purchased, now one thing you need to know is that in our area we plant short day onions. So when you're looking at the different varieties, what you're looking for our particular part of Texas is the short day onion rather than the long day onion. Partially because the long days just don't have long enough time. They don't have they actually need the long day, and it gets too hot by the time we start getting into the long day for us down here, and so we never get a good bulb on those long day onions. So instead what we do is the short day onions, and we plant them during the winter time. And so now's the time to do that. The varieties I like, I have the Southern Belle Red here, and then also the Red Creole. Those are my 2 purple or red onions. And then my 2 yellow onions, actually my 3 yellow onions are the Yellow Granax, the Texas Legend, and of course the 1015. If you're from South Texas, you know the 1015 onion is the sweetest, most delicious you can come up with. Of course, I also like to do the white onions too, so I do the white Bermuda and the Texas Early White. These are all onions that I like to plant and have done over the years. We grow onions famously down here. Onions are super easy for us to grow, these short day onions. They bulb really nicely. You can get them early and small, and then you can kind of continue to let them keep going. And one of the things that you'll need to learn is that you can plant them close together, and I talk about this a lot when I'm talking about spacing and thinning things out. So you can plant your carrots, your radishes, your beets, your onions, all of those bulbing or rooting type of plants kind of close together, with the understanding that you can harvest them as the season goes, and then by the time you get to the end of the season, when all of the tops of your onions have dried out, have fallen over, and the bulbs are now this big, then you'll be really happy with the fact that you've just kind of slowly but surely. Yes, go ahead.
So what do you call, is that a cluster? Like, is there vocabulary in the onion world? What do you call that rubber banded group of onions?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Is there a quantity in there? Is that like 100 or something?
I don't know the answer to that question.
So how many onions did you order? Do you know? This big box.
A lot.
Thousands.
Yes. I'm super happy about having lots of onions. We just have learned over the years that, number one, onions are super easy to grow. Number two, you can put onions pretty much anywhere. Number three, you're going to use all the onions you grow. And so the more onions I plant, the better, and it's always going to be that way. Onion is a really, really good companion and pest deterrent. So I pretty much plant my onions anywhere I can find a space to stick them in. I like to find a stick, something simple just like this, with a nice circumference like this, and I just literally poke it in and find a place for it. So you can see right here where yesterday I was going ahead and getting all my onions planted. Boom, 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 boom. I'm literally just filling in the gap, and all of these little things down here are radishes. You can see the different radishes, and then onions that I've gone in and filled in the space. And then I've got those around peppers and around eggplants and around flowers and squash and other things like that. So then what I'll do is, let's see, the Texas Legends were the ones I was still planting yesterday. So I would just go in and say, okay, I've got a space here, and I can see some little starts coming up right there, but I want to make sure I give it some space. So I'm gonna, and the other thing you need to be aware of is, like, okay, I've got this plant here, I don't want to bust up its root ball so bad. So I'm looking for a space kind of next to that where I'm not going to bust up the root balls of the other plants. I'm gonna poke a hole, and I'm just gonna pop it right in. It's really that simple. And the deeper you go in, the more likelihood it is that that plant's going to have the ability, because what will happen, especially when you build those raised beds, rows, the way I do, and build up, is that you're going to have that runoff that we've talked about for the many weeks that we've been doing this. And if you let it run off and run off and run off, then your bulb will be uncovered. So as often as you can, go back in and try to just keep that bulb covered up as much as you can. Now, one of the things you'll see, and we'll talk more about this as the weeks and months go on of onion planting, is that you'll start to see that the tops, high five, you'll start to see that the tops will start to flop over. And when that happens, you're basically getting to the point where the bulb's not going to really continue to grow anymore or anything like that. But we'll talk about that as we get further along in the onion growing process. Now, a few things you'll need to know. A lot of the garlic, when you're talking about, because it's that time of year when we're wanting to try to figure out if we can plant onions, garlic, leeks, all of that kind of stuff. I'm still seeding a lot of leeks, hopeful that I will still be able to get some leeks. You can plant onions in your garden, I would say even through January. So if you've got some already and you're just kind of slowly but surely finding places for them and stuff like that, go all the way through January. That's going to be really solid and easy. But one of the things you need to know about garlic, and when you're talking about potentially planting garlic, is that garlic needs refrigerator time before you put it in the ground. I pretty much don't try garlic. I just don't go after it. It wants longer days, and it wants the warmth of the summer and the cool of the winter, and we just don't have the right climate for it. You can trick a garlic into doing what you want it to do, but I like to grow with the nature around me. I think that that's the best and most healthy way. So I just do a lot of onions, and I skip the garlic. I buy the garlic from the grocery store. So.
And you said you bought these online?
I did.
Do the local nurseries have onions now?
They should. I don't know, because I haven't been to the local nurseries. But if I've gotten them already by now, then they should have already gotten them by now.
Will you buy them again in a big rubber banded clump like that?
Yes.
Okay.
This is what you're buying. This is exactly what you're looking for from your nurseries. Your nurseries that are up and a little bit further north than us, they definitely have these. Without a doubt, they've got them available. I'm not 100% sure whether ours, they usually do come in about this time though. So go ahead and head over there and take a peek and see what you can get a hold of. They're very inexpensive. Well, I think I paid, I don't know, maybe, I don't want to guess. I can't remember, but it wasn't enough to even like shock me to have to pay for that many onions. And if you think about the amount of onions you purchase from the grocery store, that's gold. That's a box of gold right there, no doubt. So, and they really, really are very, very helpful with pests and pathogens and things like that. That allium odor that they give out is really helpful to keep a lot of the pests away from things that you're doing in your garden. So that's really the main thing I wanted to talk about today. I'm still doing a lot of upscaling, and you can see that my stuff is really starting to take off. So, you know, all of my little radishes that I planted along the edges of things, you know, those are still coming in. Different things that I've put in the ground are really starting to take off. Now, this one was not a seed. It was a plant that I put in over here. And you can see things are just kind of really maintaining. This particular part of the garden has been a little bit challenged because of the amount of sun that it gets. But I'm starting to see that where the sunlight is coming in at this point in the year, it's actually doing pretty good over here. And I'm going to start planting a lot more lettuce. One of the things I will definitely tell you is that I kind of was encouraging people to wait on their lettuce and their spinach, but now's the time. Even though it's still as warm as it is, now's the time to get your lettuce and your spinach put in the ground. I like to start them in seed pack, go ahead and start them in my starts, but I also like to get them started in, go ahead and put them in the ground, directly in the ground. And you can see what's happening over here. I've got massive plants that I'm still upscaling. I'm still starting seeds. I found these little tiny little pots here, and I started using them to start my seeds. And so then once I get done with that, I transfer it over to something like this. So it's still got 3 little plants in it, but I took it from that up to this and gave its roots, because if I pick these up, you can see what I'm talking about. Their roots are already coming way out of these little pots down here. You can see there's some roots, and some of them grow real fast. And so their roots will be already really hanging down, starting to come down. And so I want to move them in and give them a little bit more space. And then in addition to this, when I upscale them, so when I plant a seed, I don't use any of my fertilizer or my Epsom salt or azomite, but when I upscale it, I do. So now what's inside here with these fairly young plants is some fertilizer, some azomite, some minerals, some things like that to get them to really kick off and be strong until I get ready to move them to the next phase of their life. So you can see when we're talking about the next phases of their life, so this goes up one scale up to that, and then once I've gotten it to about that size, then, let's go this way, Jeff. Now I'm moving them up to this size here. So you can see now they've got the chance to go here. And out here, everything that I'm planting in the ground, I'm not doing any more tomatoes, peppers, or eggplants, or green beans out at the farm, because the farm does deal with some freezing out there. Now I may do a little bit of that here, and if you're living on the island or closer to the water, then you can still, you probably would be okay to still keep putting your tomatoes in the ground. Like if you have a tomato, or you find a tomato at the nursery that's kind of this nice size like this, already got flowers on it and everything, and you live close to the water, you live on the island, or you live really close to the bay like we do, then you would probably be okay. You might have to protect it if we get a hard freeze in December.
So I have a question about that tomato plant.
Yeah.
You just showed us the tiny pots that you put the seed in.
Yes.
Then it went up to a larger pot.
Yes.
Was this tomato a seed?
Yes.
So it went through the journey
Yes.
that you just described.
Absolutely.
Small to medium to larger.
Yeah.
And when will that go into the ground? Will that get a larger pot before it goes into the ground?
For me, yes, that one needs to get into a larger pot now, actually. So something like, like this, right here, a size pot like that. And you can see what I've done, over the years. I've kind of up-potted things into bigger pots about that size. But right now I'm still trying to protect those plants. And so for me, the idea would be that one of two things. Either I get to the time of the year when people are purchasing plants and I still have lots of nice plants in pots that I don't need, so I can sell them to people, or I save them long enough to then go ahead and put them in the ground in the spring. And that's one of the things that, if you've been with me on this journaling live backyard garden journey that started about January last year, we're getting back around to that point where you will see the way that I manage and plant. So right now I'm still planting lettuce, spinach, broccoli, cauliflower, different types of flowers, all of that kind of stuff. I've stopped planting seeds of tomatoes, eggplant, pepper, and I'm not planting a ton of that stuff into the ground. But as soon as we get to January, I start putting those seeds again. And then I start slowing down the amount of seeds of this type that I put in. Well, one of the things that's going to happen with my plants as well is that you start to run out of space, because now I've already finished one massive garden. This garden is pretty much planted outside of the tomatoes and then kind of starting to fill in the gap as the plants start to get bigger. I'm taking on another garden at the farm that I'm about to start growing up and planting this stuff in.
Yeah, you showed us that. You showed us that last week.
I did. I showed that off last week, and I've got more projects going on out there. But as I pull one radish out or I cut off one cauliflower head, another plant goes in that space. So I'm just filling in the holes after I've already built my gardens up. So that means I have the ability to kind of just constantly let it keep growing. And so that's kind of where I am with the process. So that's really all I have for today. Please, again, if you are interested in being placed in my sales group for the harvests and the plants and things that I'm going to have available, please give me a yes in the comments. If you're interested in being in the special group that's called It's Just Aislynn, it's my garden group with working with different clients and the educational things I'm doing, put a yes in the comments. I'll add you, or I'll invite you to that group as well. And then also don't forget that episode, what are we now?
11.
Season 2, episode 11 comes out Monday morning of Dinner Table Talks. We'll be talking about poblano kale eggs.
Breakfast tacos.
Poblano kale breakfast tacos.
And death.
That's the truth. All right, we love you guys. We'll see you soon. Bye. Happy Sunday. I can't wait to tell you my new news. It's so exciting.